Previously on the Pavement Top 50.
You can exhale now because track 28 is Stop Breathing. Amir, what are your initial thoughts about this song?
I love this song. It appears in my top 20 that I sent you. I think it's number 14 there, so it's half of your number.
Hey, this is Westy from the rock and roll band Pavement, and you're listening to The Countdown.
Hey, it's JD here, back for another episode of our Top 50 Countdown featuring seminal indie rock band Pavement. Week over week, we're going to count down the 50 essential Pavement tracks that you selected with your very own top 20 ballots. I then tabulated the results using an abacus and some fucker named Gene. How will your favorite song fare in the ratings? Well, you'll have to tune in to find out. So there's that. This week, I'm joined by Pavement superfan Steven. Steven, how the fuck are you?
I'm very good, JD. How are you?
I'm doing quite stellar, in fact. It's a good day to be breathing and upright, you know?
It is. Spring's in the air, winter's gone. I think things are looking up.
Funny enough, it's snowing here today. First, we've passed spring. We didn't get any snow at all. And then, it turns into spring and all of a sudden we've got snow. So, who can fucking tell?
No, but both. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's like we said before, just before we started, I've been listening to the whole countdown so far, and it's been great. It's a nice little pick me up on the Monday morning when it drops, and it's a good feeling to think that there's going to be one a week for the whole year, pretty much. So I've been really enjoying it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. So let's make this about you now, and let's get right into your Pavement Origins story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I'm 42 now, and I got into Pavement when I was about sort of 15, 16. So it was basically when Twilight came out.
Oh,
so
okay.
When I was a teenager, I was really into Radiohead at the time. I mean, I still am, but they were my band at the moment, so I was obsessively into everything that they did, and I would read all the interviews and get every release and bootleg and EP and thing that came out from that band. And I remember I was on holiday once, and I picked up a music magazine in the airport on the way over, and there was a big article in there about Pavement and the Twilight release. And I'd kind of heard of them a little bit. I kind of knew off them, but they were always sort of mentioned in the same breath as The Fall and John Peel and things like that. And so in my mind, I kind of built them up as a kind of scary, alternative, loud, punky, abrasive sort of band that was sort of unlistenable. And I kind of remember at the time, also around that time in the 90s, Blur brought out their self-titled album, the one that has song 2 on.
Right.
Graham Coxson was going around on the interview circuit and saying, "Oh yeah, this album's influenced by, really really hard, unlistenable American bands like Pavement." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So this, in my head, I'd kind of built them up as something a bit difficult. And then I saw this article in this music magazine. It must have been Q Magazine or NME or something. And they just came across like a really nice bunch of guys. And I thought, right, when I get back from holiday, I'm going to buy that record. It sounds really good. The other thing was that the main draw at that time was the Radiohead
Godrich?
sort of connection, Godrich. Yeah. So he Nigel Godrich produced it. They had Johnny Greenwood playing harmonica for some reason on Platform Blues and on Billy. And so I bought the album purely on that sort of thought, really. I'd never heard any of their songs, didn't know anything about them. And I remember getting home, putting the CD on, and the first song is Spit on the Stranger. So that was the first Pavement song I'd ever heard.
Wow.
And it's got such a lovely, warm introduction, and those sort of synth pops and the sort of, and the vocal and the melody. I thought, wow, this is great. This isn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting something really hard and, almost the kind of stuff that you hear on Westy,
Yes.
And so, I loved it. I got really into that album. I loved every track on it, really. Especially Carrot Rope. Loved Carrot Rope. I don't quite I don't quite get the kind of the sort of online hate that song gets. I think that's a great song. But yeah, from Terror Twilight, I then kind of worked backwards and picked up all the CDs in kind of reverse order. I got, I think, Bright in the Corners next. And then kind of worked backwards, Crooked Rain. Wowie's Eye was hard to find, I think, in those days. I couldn't find it, so it took me about a year or so to track that CD down. So yeah,
why that is.
Yeah,
hey? I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I think it was in the 90s. It was kind of like, there wasn't, the internet wasn't so prominent. You almost didn't know what a band's back catalogue was. You had to kind of track it down and search it out in record stores and read about them in magazines. And for whatever reason, that record was hard to track down. But yeah, so by the time I went to university, I think I had all the albums. But then unfortunately they broke up.
Yeah.
So I kind of missed the boat on the sort of original incarnation. But then the SM debut came out, which is absolutely, that is my absolute favorite album by anybody of all time.
Really fucking good.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I still listen to that album now. Like it's what was it? 24 years old? Is it 23 years old or something as we speak? And
pretty close.
I think I listened to it last week. I still get something from that album.
Me too. I listened to it for like 3 days in a row 2 weeks ago. Listened to it for like 3 days in a row, just straight.
It's still got it, hasn't it? It's every song on there is fantastic. The sort of guitar work, the melodies. It's just, and I think sometimes it's quite a poppy, immediate album.
Yeah. And
sometimes those sorts of albums don't really have the longevity. But for whatever reason, this one does. It's really got a lot going on. So from that, I kind of, so from 2001 onwards, I kind of picked up all the Malkmus solo stuff as it came out. But none of them really grabbed me like the debut did. Up until Traditional Techniques. So yeah, that's another one that's really got under my skin. That album, it's a great one. I think it came out just at the beginning of lockdown.
Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah, and it might be something to do with that. Sort of being trapped in the house with this new record, and I listened to it every day for a long time over lockdown. But that's a really good one as well. Yeah. And it was around that sort of time that I found your podcast, and so
oh wow!
It was kind of the Traditional Techniques album that made me kind of think, I need to get a bit more into revisiting some of the other Malkmus stuff that I've not really got into the first time round. And I found your podcast and the Malkmus Conundrum podcast.
Yes,
the other guys did. Yeah,
that was great.
So kind of that period, that lockdown period for me is kind of synonymous with listening to a lot of Pavement podcasts, listening to Traditional Techniques, and sort of going back and re-exploring some of the other Malkmus solo stuff. But yeah, so yeah, I didn't catch them live. Well, I saw Malkmus solo a few times when he was touring the first album at festivals and little venues, and that was really cool.
Yere's one for you. I saw Radiohead, and opening for Radiohead was SM and the Jicks.
Oh, really? What year was
that? That was Hail to the Thief, when they were touring for Hail to the Thief.
Yeah, 2004, something like that. Oh,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
That's about right. Yeah.
So they were doing
tour.
Were they doing Real Emotional Trash or something at that time? What were the Jicks doing?
Whatever came after Piglib.
Piglib. Okay, cool. Yeah.
No, the one after Piglib. Shit, I can't think of what it was. Face the Truth.
I've got it up here somewhere. Face the Truth.
Or Real Emotional Trash. One of those two.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So, did you get a chance to see Pavement live ever?
I did. Well, I when they regrouped in 2010, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
And they did a series of shows down in London, and it was the week I was getting married.
Tough to escape that.
So I didn't go, but I thought about it. It was almost like, travel down to London, come back, get married the next day, and I thought, no, that's not going to work. So I'll skip that.
Good,
but then I thought,
that's wise.
But then I caught them on the most recent tour, and that tour was fantastic. That really, I was completely obsessed with that tour.
It was so good. Where did you see them? Manchester?
Yeah, I saw them in Leeds and Manchester, and then the following year they played a little one-off festival in the UK called Blue Dot, and they were headlining.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was really cool. Yeah, you got to some of the UK gigs, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw every stop except for Leeds.
Oh, no, that's a shame. Yeah,
Yeah.
So you're at Manchester.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
I thought so too.
Yeah, that I remember on that one they opened with Major Leagues, didn't they?
That's right.
I think, which is I always think that's a bit of an odd intro song. It doesn't really get things going in the same way.
It sort of set the mood for the night. Like it was a more mellow show for sure.
Definitely. It's
but still great.
Still a great song. Yeah. But yeah, no. But then, so the funny thing about the Leeds gig was, I went with my brother, and we went for some food beforehand and a couple of drinks, and we were in this Indian restaurant, and the waiter comes over and says, "Oh, you guys going to the Pavement gig later?" Because he must have seen our T-shirts and things like that. Well, oh yeah, and he goes, "Oh, the band date next door, just an hour ago." So there was another slightly more upper class Indian restaurant next door. And he's like, "Oh no, they just ate there recently." I was like, "Oh God." And so I was like really, really buzzing from that. I was like, "Oh yeah, we've eaten in the restaurant next to the one that Pavement ate in." So we finished up there, and we're walking up to the venue, and the doors opened, I think at 7, and it was probably about 1 or 2 minutes to 7 o'clock, and we're walking up through the town centre, and as we're walking, we kind of notice that we're kind of walking in step with this other group that are kind of walking at the same speed and in the same direction. It's a bit awkward when you're kind of trying to overtake each other. And I thought, hang on, they've got those sound like American accents. And so I look over, and it's Bob and Spiral walking up to the venue.
Get out.
And bear in mind that the doors are just about to open, so they're just like strolling up through the city centre like they've got all the time in the world.
Jeez.
And I was like, I don't normally do this, but I've got to say something, And I'd had a couple of pints by this point, so I was feeling a bit more confident. But so as we got to the traffic lights, I stopped them and said, "Oh, sorry guys, just got to say hello, a big fan." And they were really, really nice guys. Just stopped, and we sort of stood there by the road and chatted for about 5 minutes or so. And they were in no rush at all to get to the venue or start the gig or anything like that. So really, really nice, really nice guys. And from that point, it was just a great gig. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun that you got to meet them. They're so gracious, right?
Yeah, no, really, really good guys, and just chatting like it was nothing,
Yeah.
And asking where we were from, and they were talking about how they'd played at the same venue with Sonic Youth like back in the 90s, and and just stuff like that. Just really nice little moment. And then managed to meet them a second time at the Blue Dot Festival the year after.
Wow!
Because I don't think this was really it wasn't really picked up online that much. But on the first sort of event of the day at the festival was it was on the poster described as a listening party. And I thought a listening party with Pavement, and it was a sort of event curated by Tim Burgess from the Charlatans.
Okay.
He does these sort of online listening parties where he plays an album and people listen along live and, that sort of thing. And so I thought, okay, that's probably just, in a tent somewhere, they're probably playing a Pavement album and maybe talking about it on stage, that sort of thing. So I thought, well, I'll head over to that before we go and see any bands. And so I head over to this tent, turn the corner, and it's the entire band are on in this tent, up on this little stage, and there's probably about, I don't know, maybe 200 people on sort of chairs. It's like a sort of wedding tent, like chairs in a row. And they're playing Wowie Zowie through the speakers, and they've got this interviewer on stage, and she's just talking to them about the album as they play it through, like track by track. And so you got like a sort of track by track rundown of every song of Wowie Zowie. And it's so surreal to sort of turn the corner, step into this tent, and Mount Merce and the rest of them are all on stage, and they're doing that kind of track by track, blow by blow rundown of every song on Wowie Zowie. And I was just like, I wish I had a bit of paper to write some of this stuff down or to remember what they're saying, because it was really good sort of behind the scenes
commentary
stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's like those sort of on TV here, on say like on like a Friday night, we might get a sort of behind the scenes documentary on some 80s band or something, and they're sitting at the mixing desk and they're talking about how they recorded this album years ago. And it was like that, but for a band you actually like, and for an album an album you're actually really invested in. So that was really cool. And then
So what's your go-to record these days?
These days, I would say it's Wowie Zowie.
Yeah.
Because I think it's got the most variety.
Sure does.
It's probably like the best single. If you were to sort of say what if you were to give one record to somebody and say this is what Pavement's like, I would say it's Wowie Zowie, because it's got the louder stuff, the quieter stuff. It's really eclectic. When I was younger, it was Crooked Rain that was always the one that I would go to. But I think now it's Wowie Zowie.
Huh. Well, what do you think there, Stephen? Should we flip the record and talk about song number 27?
Let's do it, yeah.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
Hey, this is Bob Nastanovich from Pavement. Thanks for listening, and now on with a countdown.
27.
Capistrano, swallow, answer to your inner voice, and please return. God installed that radar in your pointy little beak so you'd return. Epileptic surgeons with their eyes X'd out attend to the torn up kid. Who salivate and reckon with all the sick things that you did. The secondary stumbles 'cause the cadence of the count has led them astray. students are like virgins with an itch they cannot scratch. Never build a building till you're 50. What kind of life is that? Stalled out on an escalator, wishing which way to return, up or down. My Palestinian nephew got his face blown off in a dusty crowd.
It's the fourth song from Terror Twilight on the countdown. Song number 27 is the fantastic The Hex. Stephen, what are your initial thoughts about this song, The Hex?
The Hex. Well, it's a really cool song. It's I think it's completely different to anything else that Pavement does. I think it's very unique. It's got a style which isn't really there in any. I can't think of any other song that's like it. It's it's kind of slow, kind of lurching, atmospheric. It's got it's almost a kind of proggy kind of vibe. But yeah, it's really cool. I love the guitar solo. It's absolutely brilliant.
Did they play it at any of the live shows you went to?
They did at Blue Dot. Yeah, I was. They didn't at Leeds or Manchester, and I was really hoping they would. And then they played it at the last one, so I was happy. Yeah, really happy with that.
They really open it up live, don't they?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, really cool song live. It's one of those kind of jammy songs. You know, you can tell it's come from a band session rather than something that's been kind of written in advance. And in fact, you've got there's that other version of it, isn't there? On
and then the Hex.
On one, and then the Hex, that's on the B side, and I think that was part of the Brighten the Corners sessions.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And so that version is pretty cool as well, but that's much more. It hasn't really got that kind of haunting sort of vibe to it. It's more kind of crunchy and rocky. I don't think it really emphasizes that sort of guitar line so much. It's more straight into the kind of chorus, and then like Malcolmus is doing the kind of scatting, yelling bit over the top. It's quite a cool version.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how that kind of rocky jam that they started with sort of evolved into this kind of more atmospheric, proggy song. And I'd imagine quite a lot of that is probably down to Nigel Godrich.
I bet you're right. Right. Because it's really dense as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
Like, whereas a lot of Pavement songs tend to be sparse production-wise, the whole Terror Twilight is so rich and atmospheric.
Yeah.
This song is a great example of that.
Definitely. It's almost kind of claustrophobic. It's kind of swirl. You know, you can kind of get lost in it. It's a really cool song. In fact, on the Nigel Godrich sequence, I think he puts it at number 2. So he obviously thinks it's like should be up there at the beginning. I do think it works a bit better at the end as a as a sort of finale rather than putting it right up there at the beginning.
I like the sequence that they put together for Terror Twilight. I think I like it a little bit better than the Godrich sequence, but it's cool that we have both.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how
the record.
It does. It's funny how a sequence can change the feel of something.
Yeah.
But the like I was saying before, that Spit on a Stranger is just the perfect opening for an album. I think it's spot on to put that at the beginning. Yeah. But to start off with the Hex is pretty dense. It's pretty
yeah.
But really cool.
So do you have a handle on what this song is about?
Well, I was having a think, and I've been listening to this song a lot over the past few weeks in preparation, and trying to get a sense of what's going on. But to me, it feels in some ways it's a bit Radioheady, because I think it's kind of a bit about existence and alienation and feeling sort of lost, and like some of the lyrics, he's talking about sort of being reeling around the parking lot, being lost in life and not knowing where you're going. There's some great stuff in the lyrics. That line about the epileptic surgeons with their eyes X'd out. It's pretty creepy stuff. Attending to the torn up kid. So you can kind of imagine this sort of, you can kind of read that as someone who's sort of physically broken, or someone who's maybe emotionally torn up, like, life has just got too heavy and
right,
broken them down, and you've got these sort of zombie twitching surgeons attending to, attending to this kid. So pretty sort of nightmarish kind of stuff. I love that line about the secondary stumbles because the cadence of the count has led him astray. I just love the sort of syncopation of that line. It's brilliant. And then you've got the sort of section about the architecture students, which is
I
fantastic.
love that.
Yeah, that's got to be one of his best lines. Definitely, it's really funny. And it kind of he has these lines like the bit about the architecture students with the itch they can't scratch, and the surgeons in the second verse, and songs like Grounded, where he's sort of taking a pot at doctors, and it seems like he's got this kind of he likes to sort of take the pot shots at the professional classes. I think he's there from the sort of creative side, the artistic side, and he's looking at the people that are kind of dedicating their lives to these sort of to these professional and technical endeavors, and he's sort of taking little pot shots at that. I think that's great.
I like that. That's good.
But yeah, it's kind of. It reminds me of a lot of like a Radiohead song, something from OK Computer or something, where it's talking about the state of the world, and alienation and being lost, and these sort of little nightmarish vignettes here and there. Really good stuff. The line about the swallow at the beginning is pretty cool as well. I mean,
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's him kind of, in some ways, kind of showing off a little bit about some, his knowledge about migratory birds. Which, you can see that. So it's quite humorous on that side, but also I think it's kind of talking about. So the line is, swallow, answer to your inner voice and please return. God installed that radar in your pointy little beak, so please return. So it's kind of like, it's a bit, you could see it one way, it's about nature, about migratory birds, or you could see that it's something to do with kind of like destiny and fate. How these creatures are kind of, they're drawn back. They've got no sort of free will. And you can maybe see it like perhaps it's kind of maybe like a broken relationship, and he's, his partner's, broken up with him and gone off, and he knows they'll come back because they're drawn back with this sort of instinct, this kind of fate. You can't escape this kind of instinct that's within you.
This is good.
Yeah, so it's all I think there's a lot of stuff in there like that, which is I think different to your average Pavement song. It's a lot more downbeat, a lot darker, a lot sort of a lot more sort of oppressive, and that together with the whole sort of rhythm of the thing and the kind of sort of lurching guitar line that sort of just, that sort of those sort of bass notes, and then sort of dun, 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 that sort of descending guitar part all the way down. Yeah, really cool stuff.
Nice stab on the SM lyrics though, because for real, he's really tough to nail down, right? Like it's really tough to figure out what he's saying because it does change so much. It is like phraseology in a sense, like just throwing out neat syncopatic phrases and bits of thoughts and bits of ideas, and then you get this structure, very cool.
Definitely. It's more about the kind of image, it's kind of poetry in that sense, isn't it? Because it's more about the image it creates in your head than anything literal,
Yeah.
How
do you feel about the ranking of this song?
So
is it properly ranked? It's 27. Is it 27. Should it be higher? Should it be lower?
Yeah, I mean, not wanting to question the abacus, but I think it could be higher. I think I was just looking at my submission to you, and I think I had it at 13.
That sounds more about right. Like just outside of the top 10.
I think it's one of the greats, definitely. I mean, it's different. I can understand why it's lower, because I don't think it's a Pavement song. In that sense, I think it's more of it's not really representative of what they do. It's quite unique. It's more of a kind of. It also shows
you that. Sorry, I apologize.
Go.
It also shows you that Twilight just doesn't have the same love that that other Pavement records have. Like people, like some of the songs are held back because people, like a lot of people have Twilight as number 5. The rest of the records are interchangeable. Like, oh, I have Slanted at number 1. Oh, I have Crooked at number 1. Oh, I have Wowie Zowie at number 1. But most people have Twilight around 5, it seems.
Yeah. No, I can understand that, and I think maybe because this was the first record that I got, you don't come to it with all that sort of baggage, really.
That's right.
You can kind of see it as an isolated record rather than in the context of everything else. But no, I think it needs to be higher just for the guitar solo alone. It's like it's so good. It's almost kind of a bit Pink Floyd-y, a bit kind of proggy. It's probably like the cleanest guitar solo that he does, really. Like most of the guitar stuff that he does is kind of sort of intentionally sloppy and
jagged,
distorted, and he's hitting these off key notes on purpose, and like the solo on Finn, which is another absolutely fantastic solo, but that's all like that's completely all over the place, in a really good way. But
in a great way, yeah.
Whereas this solo is much more tightly controlled and sort of almost like classic rock. It's really nice.
Interesting. Classic rock. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I could see it on the Dark Side of the Moon or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was just listening to Dark Side.
Oh, right, yeah.
Before we got on the call. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been great having you on to talk about your origin story and the hacks. Is there anything that you want to plug or anything like that?
No, not really. No, I don't really have much internet presence or produce anything creative. So no.
Well, that's cool.
Really to say.
That's cool. Nevertheless,
no.
I really appreciate your time, and I thank you so much for doing this.
No worries. No, it's been a lot of fun. I was looking forward to this for a long time, and like I said, I've been enjoying the countdown so far, and looking forward to seeing what comes up at the top.
I'll never tell.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell in December, but all right, Stephen. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Watch your goddamn hands.
Worthy.
Thanks for listening to Meeting Malcolmus, a Pavement podcast, where we count down the top 50 Pavement tracks, as selected by you. If you've got questions or concerns, please shoot me an email, jd@meetingmalcolmus.com. Podcasts and such.